Welcome, everyone. My name is Amy Cohen. I am the Chief Mission Officer here at Philadelphia Youth Basketball. I'm really excited about today, particularly because the Cohen Family Civic Dialogue Arena was created for these type of conversations. I'm really excited, whose father is a proud North Philadelphian, and I heard, the name Cecil B. Moore growing up every day in my house. And I'm even more proud because a PYB lifer, Amy Cohen, and her book, for us keeps history alive. And if we don't have these spaces and conversations to continually talk about, to continually assess, in particular, the current landscape that we're in, and it doesn't feel this right? I am particularly happy today. This is one of my favorite places in PYB. And again, for an author like Amy, who I know is a friend of a lot of you, and I've come to know over the last 4 years in my career at PYB, this day is exciting. Because again, if we don't keep history alive, if we don't keep artifacts alive, then they become dormant. We often look at young people sometimes like it's their fault, but really this is the space for us to create space to continue to keep history alive. So without further ado, welcome this evening. You'll hear my voice throughout the day. I'll tell you a little bit more about the building and PYB if you don't know. But without further ado, the reason why we are here, for that person that keeps history alive, I want us to give a round of applause for Amy Cohen.
Thank you, Amin, and thank you, PYB, for having me, and thank you to the Freedom Fighters for being willing to come out here tonight. Just to give you a sense of how the evening's going to flow, I'm going to do a presentation for maybe about 20 minutes to give you some background about Cecil B. Moore and Girard College and the Cecil B. Moore Philadelphia Freedom Fighters, and then actual Cecil B. Moore Philadelphia Freedom Fighters will come up and at first answer questions that I have prepared for them, and then we'll have time for all of you to ask questions. So that's the flow. And as Amin mentioned, I'm the author of this book, Black History in Philadelphia Landscape, and it's a book about Philadelphia's Black history from the late 1600s through the late 1960s, but it tells that history through things like markers and monuments and murals. And I was allowed to have input in terms of what would be on the cover of this book that I had poured my heart and soul into, and I was determined to have this particular beautiful mural where you can see Cecil B. Moore in the word freedom, and it's a mural that sits just outside of Girard College. I really wanted this on the cover. I had to go through a lot to get it on the cover. I can share details of that story another time, but anyway, there it is, and there he is, Cecil B. Moore, right in the middle of my book. And Cecil B. Moore is a person from Black history who is very much visible in the Philadelphia landscape. For example, there's Cecil B. Moore Avenue. In 1985, what had been Columbia Avenue in North Philadelphia was renamed for Cecil B. Moore. That's a big deal. To get an honorary street name, that's just a city council resolution. But to get an actual name change, it happens very rarely, and Cecil B. Moore is one of those who was so honored. Cecil B. Moore is also the first person to have a SEPTA stop named in his honor. This is the stop at Temple University on the Broad Street line. And at one point, SEPTA thought to make things a little simpler, they would change the buses that ran along Cecil B. Moore Avenue by having in the front of the buses the words C.B. Moore. The freedom fighters heard about this. They confronted SEPTA, and needless to say, the buses say Cecil B. Moore. The freedom fighters also persuaded. You were in the same suit. I'm sorry. You look very nice there. The freedom fighters also persuaded SEPTA to dedicate in 2013 this beautiful mosaic about Cecil B. Moore in the Cecil B. Moore station. And then in 2015, Temple decided that they would put big red decals all over the station. And the freedom fighters heard about this and said, "You can't do that. This is the Cecil B. Moore subway station," and Temple took the decals down. And then in 2019, again at the behest of the freedom fighters, some more informational panels were posted outside of the Cecil B. Moore subway station so that people would know more about who he is, and that panel is pictured there with one of his daughters, Cecily. There's also a mural of Cecil B. Moore that was painted in 2000 at Jefferson and Bouvier Streets in North Philadelphia, right around the corner from where he lived. In 2020, the mural was defaced, unfortunately. And again, the freedom fighters heard about that defacement, got right on it, and within like a day and a half, if I'm correct, the mural was repaired, and along with the help from a much younger and rounder Malcolm Kenyatta. There's also a Cecil B. Moore library and a Cecil B. Moore rec center. So clearly, Cecil B. Moore is a really important person in Philadelphia history, but we're going to have to step away from Cecil B. Moore for a moment and talk about another famous Philadelphian who also has an avenue named in his honor, Stephen Girard. Stephen Girard was born in France, not born to money. He goes to sea and eventually becomes very, very, very rich as a merchant and banker and eventually a philanthropist. He is also an enslaver and owned land that was plantation land in Louisiana. When he died in 1831, he was the richest American. But he had no natural heirs. So he left a huge chunk of his fortune to the city of Philadelphia for a school that would be for poor white male orphans. And that school became Girard College. It opened in North Philadelphia in 1848 and on a 43-acre campus, beautiful Neo-Grecian Founders Hall. There's the centerpiece. You can see a very substantial wall around the college. And at that point, Girard College was kind of out in the boonies. It was, you know, somewhere you might go for a stroll or a carriage ride, but it was away from things. And this is another view of Girard College, this one from 1850. And you can see Girard College in the foreground. If you look toward the top right, you'll see the Eastern State Penitentiary, which was nearby, and also, like Girard College, meant to be somewhere away from the bulk of the population. But Philadelphia grew very quickly. This is a map in 1871 of Philadelphia, which I really love because City Hall's not there, there's very few tall buildings, but if you look again up in the top right, one of the biggest properties, the most significant structures in all of Philadelphia is Girard College. And you can see, even by the 1870s, it's no longer out in the boonies. And here's a map from 1862 showing Girard College dead center in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And it happens to be a black residential neighborhood by the 1960s. So being in a black residential neighborhood as an all-white institution is clearly problematic, and efforts begin to allow black boys to attend Girard College. The article on the left from March 24th is about a city councilman, Ray Pace Alexander, who many of you may have heard of, saying he's asking to allow 6 Negro or black boys to attend the school. The date on that is March 24th, 1954. The date's really important because that's before the Brown v. Board decision saying that public schools had to be desegregated. Okay, that comes out in May of that year, but people in the neighborhood, people in the city are already saying this school needs to be segregated. The effort continues. Another article, this one from 1957, 12 boys seeking admission. This is post Brown v. Board decision, but nothing changes, pressure's increasing, and at this point, Girard College is not like a regular public school, but it's controlled by the city. So one of the things that is done to keep Girard from desegregating is the city says, you know what, we're not in charge anymore. It's now run by a private board of trustees, and the choice is up to them, and we can't violate the will of Stephen Girard. Well, someone is not going to take that, and that someone's name is Cecil B. Moore. And quick background on Cecil B. Moore. He's from West Virginia, goes to college, and then joins the Marines. He becomes a Montfort Point Marine. He serves in the Second World War in the South Pacific, leading both black and white soldiers. He goes to Temple Law School at night while working at a North Philadelphia liquor store during the day. He becomes an attorney, a criminal defense attorney, and in 1961 he becomes the president of the Philadelphia NAACP, which historically had been kind of a somewhat conservative, kind of more, the wealthier black elite were more calling the shots. Cecil became president and said, I really want this to be an organization of the people. I want the people that I know from North Philly to join. And record numbers of folks joined the Philadelphia NAACP. He at first focused on trying to get employment for black people, led pickets, for example, at construction sites where there were no black people employed. But then he decided it was time to take the Girard College battle to the streets. And on May 1st, 1965, Cecil B. Moore said, we are going to begin marching around these gates, these 10-foot-high walls around Girard College to push for desegregation. And this was going on while things were still going on in the courts. This is a picture showing Cecil with members of the clergy, but many of the people who were walking around, yes, that's their friend Tree on the right, many of the people that were marching around the walls were young people. And as you can see right there behind tree, there were police officers. There was a huge police officer presence as these walks continued, these marches day after day. In August of 1965, Martin Luther King joined Cecil B. Moore outside of Girard College at a huge rally. And then finally, in December of 1965, then Governor William Scranton asked for 2 Philadelphia lawyers to bring a lawsuit in federal court to desegregate Girard College. At that point, the marching was called off other than intermittent protests. And then this is a photo from September 11th, 1968, when the first 4 boys to be admitted to Girard College started school. Girard College today is overwhelmingly African American and also majority female. So that's enough, I hope, to give you some background. You're hearing, I'm a little self-conscious up here because I'm talking about this history that some people in the room actually lived through, and I'm going to be inviting them up here. But as they are coming up, I just wanted to share with you a little footage, historical footage. There's no sound to it, but just to give you an idea of what it looked like back in 1965. And if the freedom fighters want to come up and take your seats and to ask questions. So first, if I may ask, I guess starting over there with Kenneth, if you can each introduce yourself briefly and tell us how you became aware of Girard College as an institution and Cecil B. Moore as an individual.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for that history and things I didn't know about Girard College. But I was a member of the Cecil B. Moore, not Cecil B. Moore, the Philadelphia NAACP Youth Council at the age of 14.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, but since I didn't introduce you by name, if you could start with your name.
Okay, my name is Kenneth Salam, is my legal name. And during the Civil Rights Movement, I was nicknamed Freedom Smitty along with 3 other freedom fighters, Freedom George, who was the leader of our group, and Freedom Frank. And I got involved with Cecil when I was about 14. I was a member of the NAACP Youth Council. And I remember when we planned for Girard College, to come to Girard College May 1st, 1965. And I learned something. I thought that all of my people, African Americans, wanted the same thing. I was sort of naive. And the night we planned to come, the night before Girard College, we planned to go there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. We had some ladders. We was going to go over the wall. And when we got there that morning, there were over 500 police officers circling 47 acres, 10-foot high walls. So naturally, whoa, like changed our plan a whole lot. But it was about 25 of us the first morning, about 25 of us. And again, when we saw the police, that's when I first realized that all of my people didn't want the same thing, but there was a snitch who told the police department under the leadership of police commissioner, wasn't Rizzo, and he was in charge of uniform office, Leary, Commissioner Leary, that we were coming there, and they protected Girard College. They protected him because, he was a philanthropist and multi-millionaire. He said the man had so much money that in 1812 he lent the U.S. Treasury some money to fight the war. So if he got enough money, then the government. So he was protecting his image and his integrity and his history. So the police were out there to protect that building. So anyway, 25 of us, 26 of us came over, and one of the brothers, not here, Reverend Dwight Campbell, he took a ladder, and a brother named Lester Green was in California. They tried to go over the wall with the ladder, and they was arrested. And from then on, people started coming to Girard College, and as you know, it was the longest demonstration in Philadelphia at the time. It lasted 7 months and 17 days, and it was 24 hours. Someone was always walking around Girard College. So we never let up, as the sister said, until the courts, said we must consider people coming in.
Okay, I mean, Kenneth didn't answer the question, so you don't have to, but the question, no, it's fine. It was fine, no, we're good. Okay, so Karen, if you can introduce yourself, and how did you become aware of Girard College as an institution and Cecil B. Moore as an individual? And I love your answer,
You're good, Kenneth, you're good.
You're good.
You're good. A little lengthy, but you're good. I'm Karen Ashford Jordan, member of the Cecil B. Moore Philosophy Freedom Fighters. I became we lived in the neighborhood, I lived around the corner, and my father's family lived on College Avenue, so it was nothing for us to look over and see the kids playing. We knew we couldn't go there. It was really no big deal. We couldn't go there, that was the law of the land, and we accepted it. And when we found out that there were going to be demonstrations, then we were going to find out what's going on. And on our way around, about two of the police officers were there. They were harassing us. So we made up in our minds that we were going to tell Cecil B. Moore once we got to the front of Girard College. And that's what we did. The guys egged me on. I got in my heart because I was scared. And I went to him and I said, Mr. Moore, those policemen are messing with us. And he said, they're not going to be messing with my damn people. And he walked off to handle it. But something about him, I know I knew him. I just can't tell you the day that I became aware of him. But I knew who he was. I picked him out. Clean as the Board of Health. He had a cigar in his mouth. He had that posture, military posture. And that was him. And from then on, I started to come around.
I'm Bernice Mills, the woman, and I did not start at Girard College on May 1st. I didn't start until June because I came from Virginia up here. I lived at 2007 Girard Avenue, which was right up the street from Girard College. So when we moved in, they were already picketing, and my older sister, who had been involved in the NAACP down in Norfolk, Virginia, she saw them picketing, and she said, hey, look, we gotta go get a part of this. So that's how I started marching at Girard College. I met Mr. Moore whilst we were marching. And as far as it being an institution, I think we felt that it should have been open to all students, particularly those in the neighborhood. And then him as a person, I found him to be our protector because we were all teenagers. He was easy to approach. He had a quick wit, sense of humor, and he was, in his quick wit, he was able to talk any subject. He could do the coding, if you know what the coding means. He could talk ghetto, and then he could go into the boardroom and speak that language as well. So I thought that was outstanding. And then he was very compassionate. I found that to be a good system.
So, for each of you, what would you say is your most powerful memory of that experience of the 7 months and 17 days, or from whenever you became involved?
I think so many experiences at Girard College, but the thing that really impressed me, that I will never forget, it didn't happen at Girard College, it was during a demonstration. When we were demonstrating, with the board, the trustee board, and Cecil was meeting at the Broad Spring Garden with the trustees, and we were outside demonstrating, And one of the gentlemen that was on the film when he showed up there just now, his name is Leonard Hill. And he's the first person I saw to knock Rizzo on his butt. So that was my greatest moment.
My greatest moment, I believe, is that we were successful. The case was won in court, but we accepted that victory because we stayed out there that long. And I've gotten some lifelong friends here because some things we went through hell. And it was not just Girard College for us as far as our activism for social justice and equality. We're still active now.
Okay. My most powerful memory, I think two actually. One is when Dr. King came to Girard College, and the other one, and I have to do this in honor of my sister. If you all remember that incident, that bloody Sunday that happened down in Alabama when they were marching across the bridge and Bull Connor and his associates attacked those people on that bridge. It was really, really horrible. Well, I think it was 2 weeks after Dr. King had been at Girard College. And at that time, Rizzo was a deputy commissioner. And the protest at the time was still a lot of people, but it started leaning down as time went on. But anyway, it was a peaceful demonstration. And Rizzo came out and he said, we're going to break this up. And he had the police officers on horses, the motorcycle police officers, the K-9 unit, and the guys on motorcycle attack the protesters. So like I said, I lived at 20th and Girard, which would be to the left of Girard College. And at that time, it still is the cobblestone bricks, still on the ground there. And I went home because we weren't permitted to use the porta potties. And I went home because I lived close. And when I came out my door, 5 steps, I saw the crowd rushing back towards 20th and Girard. And as I got on my lower step, I see my younger sister, who's 14, running from Girard College because the dogs and the horsemen and the motorcycle guys are chasing them. My sister tripped on the cobblestone bricks. She's 14. She tripped and fell. When Debbie fell, the dogs jumped on Debbie and they started mauling her. My older sister tried to get Debbie up, but she couldn't because the dogs were there. The boot cop came and they pushed my sister away and they put his foot down on Debbie's middle of the chest. She's 14. And he held her down until the other police officers came. And they lifted Debbie up, they handcuffed her, they put her in a car, and they took her down to Philadelphia General Hospital, which was at 34th. This is history of it. Took her down to 34th and Spruce, which was Philadelphia General Hospital at that time. They treated Debbie for the dog bites, and then they transferred her to the Youth Study Center, which was on the Parkway, which is where the Barnes Foundation place is today. That is where they kept Debbie until Cecil Moore came and got her out. Debbie had like 8 charges: resisting arrest, fighting a police officer, which was the dog, disturbing the peace, creating a riot. against Cecil Moore. That's why I say compassion. Cecil Moore came and he had my sister taken out of youth studies, and I think they got probation. They got like 3 months probation or something like that. But Cecil had all of that taken away. When we say and talk about our compassion and our love and our respect for Cecil Moore, that is why we say that, because of his compassion. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that painful story. Karen, can I ask you to describe your impressions of the police you encountered while protesting? Did they exhibit a range of behaviors and reactions?
Yes, they were. Most of the police officers, from my perspective, I don't know about how they feel, they were just there to me. They were just police officers. Some of them were nice, some of them weren't. But as far as their job, they were shoulder to shoulder around that whole area. So you can imagine, you're from 19th Street to 26th Street, you're from Girard Avenue to College Avenue. So they were shoulder to shoulder. They didn't always bother us. Later on, they would beat on the barricades. The barricades were yellow, they call them horses. I've seen situations where the guys have come back to say that, you know, you were looking for me last night, but they picked me up, took me out to the park, and beat them up and let them go. So you had those kind of behaviors going on. You also had, and I did see this myself, when the police officers that were there, they knew who they wanted to single out. So if anything went down, they would go to that person to beat them up, whatever. I did see, with my own eyes, they were going to get one of the demonstrators. And these guys jumped over those barricades, and they were going to charge, they were ready to beat this demonstrator. And one of the soldiers' obedience squad, they were civil affairs. So the obedience back there. And then they became civil affairs. And he put his hand on his shoulder. And that meant, this is my collar, you better not touch it. And he had that look in his eye that the uniform cop did not touch the demonstrator. So I've seen them do things like that. A lot of the so-called civil disobedience squad, they kept kind of like order. They were there to monitor the situation. But a lot of those guys got to know us because we were there so long. They were like family. I had a crush on one or two. But I mean, they were like family. And then we were there. They would tell my grandparents I was cussing at the wall. And I couldn't do anything around the wall without somebody going back to tell. But this is how they treated us. Now, they lied on you. A lot of those guys lied on you when you went to court, but they were nice about it.
I still have that teacher voice, I'll bring it out. Kenneth, what memories do you have of Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit to the walls of Girard College?
Well, when Dr. King came to Girard, that was it. It really swelled the crowd. So prior to Dr. King, people would come around Girard College, they'd get off the trolley sometime and walk around. And so everybody wanted to say they walked around Girard College. You could talk to people, they said, I was at Girard College. But when Dr. King came in June that year, first week, I think it was first week of June the 5th or something, it really swelled, because he had the national name. And it really gave us big numbers. Because in the freedom movement, the more numbers, the more people you have, the more the protesting, the more the victory could be, more sooner. But I was impressed with Dr. King. First of all, I realized how short he was. See, how did I put this? He impressed me, and it's like Cecil. I was freedom drunk, and I'm not boasting on that. I was freedom drunk. All these guys to me were like equal. I didn't see Cecil over Doc, and I didn't see Doc over Cecil. So they were like equalized. Because after Girard College, but even during Girard College, I went down south and worked in Mississippi and stuff, so other cities where Doc was. So I was just a freedom fighter, you know what I mean? And I didn't see a big eye over you. And there was a lot of controversy at that time that Cecil and Dr. King didn't get along with it, with Cecil being a Market Point Marine with the militancy, and Dr. King being nonviolence. But you know, the press always want to try to advise like they know they're trying to do it today, you know. But we always fighting for the same thing. And we're never going to be, I hope I'm not that. There's never going to be one strike to kill racism in America. You know, racism is like a big giant bear. And as the saying goes, how you eat a bear one bite at a time. So Dr. King, Martin Luther King, Cecil B. Moore, Stokely Carmichael, all these people coming at racism, that's the only way it's going to be, even today, it's going to be defeated. But Dr. King impressed me with the way he spoke, you know, by being a Baptist preacher. And, you know, and most African Americans, our tradition is the Baptist church. So he knew how to move our spirit and move us. But one thing, when I worked with Dr. King in Mississippi, one thing I can say about Dr. King and Cecil B. Moore, they had heart. I've never seen Dr. King or Cecil Moore flinch or turn around. These guys believed in what they believed in. Because I know most people in this room, if somebody bomb your house, whatever you're doing, the next day you're going to stop. So Dr. King had heart. He believed in his people. He believed in humanity. It just so happened he was fighting for his people, but he believed in humanity. So he impressed me with his demeanor, his personality, real nice. He smoked Salem cigarettes. And I asked him for a cigarette one time, he gave me a Salem. I said, I don't smoke menthols. But that's my impression, really. He was just a decent man, sincere man, who really wanted to see our world become better and safer.
And they were the men that we followed. We didn't follow everybody. Nope.
Bernice, if you could share with us, what kinds of reactions to your participation did you get from your friends, your neighbors, maybe from teachers?
I'd say from family, I grew up in an apostolic Pentecostal household. You know, it's Holy Ghost shouting kind of household. For y'all, it's beyond Baptist. It's out there. real strict. No TV, no this, no that, no. So one of the things that, in terms of family, my mother had 3 rules that my sisters and I had to abide by. One was if when school started, we were still out there, had to get homework done, whatever chores that she had assigned for us, they had to be done. And the third, and I guess the important thing that she insisted on was that we always be a lady. That was the family thing. And then in terms of friends, because I moved up here from Virginia, and I met new friends, which would have been my freedom thing. All of us had freedom, freedom Karen, freedom Bernice, freedom Frank, freedom. So this was my new association of friends. So I became Freedom Burn, and I think Karen still calls me Burn most of the time. So, and then the other thing, in terms of school, school would be classmates of my teacher. I was one of the first in my high school, Simon Gratz, the first in my, yeah. What year did you graduate?
Graduated in 1970.
Oh, I'm 66. Yeah, younger. He was younger. Okay. During that year, a lot of, in the 60s, a lot of the celebrity black queens were starting to wear their hair in natural or fro, whichever lady you want to put it. So I did that. I went and I couldn't straighten and curl my hair anyway. So I went and I had my hair cut short, like I saw Mary McKeeba and Cicely Tyson and Aretha Franklin had their hair cut. So I was the first in my high school to get my hair, to start wearing my hair in a fro or a bush, and they started calling me Freedom Girl. So it kind of stuck, Freedom Girl. So that would be my answer to that.
For each of you, how has participation in Girard College and other protests influenced your life path?
Okay, I would say, and I was talking to, I can't remember your name, but we were talking about the change in civil rights to human rights. So I would say my desire would be to make sure that human rights are equal to everybody. That would be my big takeaway, and I think that's why I continue doing what we do.
You got a question again?
Sure. How has participation in Girard College and other protests influenced your life path?
When I think of myself as always being there to help somebody else. And I think we were like that before Girard College. That's my personal opinion of myself. Because we weren't blank slates when we got to Girard College. We learned, we met a lot of people, we got to trust people, we got to look at people with a side eye. So I became a nurse for quite a few years. That's part of helping somebody. I participated in demonstrations even till today for equal and human rights and against genocide. So what I have in me, it never changed. So this must have been who I was. When we grew up, we had fairy tales. Always the good person came out on top. In Greek mythology, of all those stories, the good person always came out on top. And this is what we believe. This is what we were taught. And we went to church. And we did a lot of things in church. And we were giving to missions and writing letters to children all over the world. So this is what I was before I came to Girard College. And it's about treating people like the human beings, to know that we're all equal. We may not be treated equally, but we're all equal. And we're all somebody. So I think that's what it's done for me. And of course, we drag our kids to everything, so they don't want to hear it until they start bragging about it.
Well, I was freedom drunk. Like those freedom not drunk. I quit high school to become a full-time freedom. And I was a smart student. I wanted to be a biologist when I was in high school. But there were no African-American biologists I could talk to. So I applied for mortuary science school in New York, Eccles. That's how much I love science. But I was freedom drunk. It stuck with me. I heard my mother when I quit high school and went to Mississippi. And you heard the stories about Mississippi. They were still hanging us in 65, 66, 67, and nobody went to jail. So I'm grown up to be a person who's really concerned about the future of the world. And I want to divert for a minute to everyone here. This might be the last time you see us, because we have more time behind us than we have before. Look. America is a small parcel of land. So we got to figure out how we're going to get along. Because we're going to be bumping into each other whether we like it or not. And the only way America is going to be that shining light on the hill that poets and songwriters write about, is that each and every one of us look inside of our own selves and say, what kind of world do we want to live in? I wrote a poem, I'm going to conclude with this. please don't judge me by my skin. Because the real me lives within. God gave me a human mind. And hey people, it's right on time. We're not black and we're not white in God's sight. And we better get it right. We're human beings. And that's a fact. So don't let color hold you back. Our minds are greater than our skins, but only together will we win.
Thank you so much for that, and I think now is probably a good time to see if there are any questions in the audience.
Thank you. Is that poem written anywhere?
No, that's written in my head.
I'm gonna have to get you to say it again later so I can write it down. You guys spoke about the military background of Cecil B. Moore. I'm curious about, hearing you guys talk, it seems to have influenced his activist style. I'm wondering if you felt that influence of his military background. Like, do you feel that he structured protests and carried out protests as if they were some sort of campaign and he was mobilizing his efforts to accomplish that goal?
Cecil Moore used a militant. He was militant. And he fed that to us. We had a group called the Young Militants, which we were like Cecil B. Moore's direct action. And the NAACP, was really a nonviolent organization. So they kind of, the national branch of NAACP really didn't like Cecil a lot because he was direct action. You hit me, I'll hit you back. That was not Dr. King's state. I remember when we went to Girard College, one of the newsmen asked Cecil B. Moore, he said, Mr. Moore, when you get to Girard College, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to do just what the Marines taught me to do. We're going over the wall. So his militancy, his personality, his character fed off of, we were young. We were like sponges, so we picked up a lot of that. And we did form a school called the Young Militants. Give you an example. Cecil one time, he said, called us 10 o'clock and they said, go down to the post office at 35th Market. Some brothers, we was there, so you know, in the street in New Camp. And it was about 4 of us, and we went to the post office at 35th Market. I still don't know why we went there. Some people say it was, of course, I think they were saying some, with supervisors.
No, it was court. It was court administration.
It was cool, okay. Okay, we're gonna help somebody else. But anyway, Cecil didn't object to it. So what we did, we chained out, we talked about the influence of Cecil on us as teenagers. We handcuffed ourselves to the post office at 35th Market. Four men, Karen and Bernice and somebody else.
It was somewhere else.
Now, y'all lay in the street.
No, we were.
You do your part.
Okay, I'm keeping my call. So anyway, we handcuffed with 4 entrances to the post office, 2 in the front and 1 in the back, with 3 entrances. We handcuffed ourselves to the door. So nobody can come out of the post office all night and no one can get in all night. So in the morning, Rizzo and U.S. Marshals, they unhandcuffed us, and when they unhandcuffed us, they handcuffed us. And we hopped to the patrol wagon. Like, this was the guys, I don't know what you get in charge. This was the guy. This was in the front. Because the sisters were down, they laid in the street and kept the mail trucks from coming around back. That's how we did. We laid in the street. We could have ran us over, but when you fight for freedom, there's no if. If you want it, you got to take it. Okay? So anyway, they handcuffed us between our legs. And we got to 8th and Race and opened up the doors in the paddy wagon, and there was 2 lines of white police officers with long sticks. And they said they had created a gauntlet. They said, if y'all want y'all freedoms in, come through this. And we had to go to this, they would beat us, blah, 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 blah. So we were militant more than nonviolent. I don't say that in a disrespectful way to Dr. King believed in. But Cecil influenced us, to not take no stuff if you don't have to take no stuff. So we was his direct action group, he said, Cecil said, do this, we'll do that, Cecil do this, do that.
We were all nonviolent. We never hit the police. We never attacked them. It was always the other way around. They did the attack. And people say, well, Dr. King was nonviolent. So were we. But we also believe in self-defense. Now, Cecil's military background, while he was in the military, Cecil was getting information to the States about how the GI was being treated. I'll just say GI could be in the body. But he was the one that let them know. And he felt that when he got back to fighting for this country over there, and it being mistreated over there, he was going to do something. And like he said, he was going to use every weapon in the arsenal of democracy for his rights. Because all of that was guaranteed by the Constitution. So this is the man that he was. And I remember hearing the story about him. They said somebody threw a grenade by his tent, and it didn't go off. Cecil went to another person's tent with his gun and said, well, I'm going to go down and fight because nobody's going to get me. He took command when he had to. And even when he came here, I remember hearing him say, if the police started, this is when we were at Girard College, if the police start anything, I'm going to get my guys. And he was talking about the Montford Point Marines. They were the Marines that desegregated the military, the Marine Corps. They had to build their own barracks, an old CC camp, swamp, snakes, and they only had a small amount of money to do it. This is how the men that fought for this country were treated. And they did it, and all you can hear was how great the Montford Point Marines were. And this was the first chapter here in Philadelphia of the Montford Point Marines. And Cecil and other people started this here in Philadelphia.
Kenneth was talking about when we were at the United States Post Office at 30th and Market Street. We went, it was Karen, me, and three others, Arlene and Bertha. It was about 4 of us. And like I told you, I grew up in a very religious household, which meant special outfits. And if some young people know when you leave home, there's a certain outfit that you take that you go wear once you get out the house. So anyway, I had this little outfit. Karen keeps saying it was a Daisy Dukes shorts thing, but it was a little short skirt. And I had a t-shirt, a sweatshirt that I had cut the collar off and the sleeves out, and people were writing all these Black Power slogans on it and everything. I had a big fro and I had these little sandals on. So we go to the post office and we were blocking the entrance, the employees' entrance right there on 30th Street because of the discriminatory practices in hiring. We weren't hiring qualified Black folk. So we're sitting there and we have our arms locked and we're singing, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And I'm just like a tree planted by the water. So in the meantime, Lieutenant Fensel, who was in charge of some of this legal squad, he came over to us and I think he said to Karen, he said, listen, now y'all can sit here, but when Rizzo comes, ain't nothing I can do. So I said, well, I'm out of here. So when I went to get up, because our arms were locked, Karen was on one side, and Arlene or Bertha was on the other. They pulled me back down. I'm like, oh, Jesus, Mama gonna kill me. So just as few minutes after he said that, Rizzo walks up and says, lock them up. And at that time, they had those big paddy wagons, those big trucks like FedEx trucks. And they handcuffed us. And Karen was still, there's a picture of Karen, she's still singing, planted by the water. I'm like, you can sing all you want. Mama will get me. So they handcuffed us and they lifted us up into the truck. So we're in the pedway and they're singing and stomping. They get us down to 8th and Race to the roundhouse and they take us in. And my hair had rust sparks, or we were dirty. And they took us out to the county. At that time, they were fingerprinting you. They put your finger on that pad and they roll it around and everything. So when the officer was doing my hand, I'd stiffen my fingers like this. So she couldn't roll my fingers. She said, girl, I'll break your fingers. So I was like, militancy is gone. It's out the window. So they took our fingerprints, they took our picture, and then they escorted us to cells in the back. And for you young people, getting locked up is not fun. Once they close that door and you hear that clink, that's when reality sets in. You are locked up. So we're in the cell, and I think we were saying, they trying to freeze us. And we hear Cecil, we hear someone say, pain, and all this foul life, because Cecil had a real petty party man. We hear all this headline. Cecil came, and he said, get my babies out. And at that time, Joseph Coleman was a councilman. He wasn't a councilman, he was one of the directors of CORE, which was Congress of Racial Equality. And he said, well, let them stay in there overnight. And I was back to, you can stay here all night. Cecil came, make long story short, Cecil came and he got us out. So as we were coming out, Cecil was standing right at the entrance as we walked out, because he's making sure all of us come out. So as I come out the door, Cecil's standing there, and he leans down to me and said, your mama is here.
I just wanted to ask, what made you and gave you the courage to become a freedom fighter? And was there a turning point for you when you decided that's what you wanted to be for life?
We had heart. We were from North Philadelphia. We were from North Philadelphia. We had heart. We didn't have anything else. We had heart. But the fact that the cause was a just cause. And we weren't punks. I'm sorry, but we weren't. And we believe that you hit me, hit you back, but you also looked out for the little guy. Not all the time, but most of the time you looked out for the little guy. But we were around people. These guys would go through hell. The gasoline draws them. That's how bad they were. And with Cecil, one of the ladies said, Catherine Terrell said, we follow Cecil to hell. It doesn't mean we stay there, but we follow him to hell. And that's how we felt about him, because he had our backs and he had your back. I remember when we got locked up, that I had to call everybody in my family to get me out of jail, because they were tired of getting me out. They were tired of me going to jail. And I got out that time, but I did go a couple of other times, but I didn't tell my age. So when I didn't tell my age, they made me Jane Doe. They assumed that I was 18 years old. And that's how those other arrests, I was able to get out of jail.
We were still in high school.
Yeah, we were still in high school. And the other thing was, at the post office, when the demonstrations were started, they could not arrest anybody because they were the Philadelphia Police Department. And we were on federal property. They had to deputize the Philadelphia Police Department to arrest us.
Did you?
Anyone else?
Yes, you have a question.
Did you decide one day when you woke up, I want to be a freedom fighter? Did you decide that you wanted to do this?
Said he's from North Philly, like your grandfather.
It's kind of hard to grandfather.
No, I grew up below the Mason-Dixon line, down in Norfolk, Virginia. I grew up in segregated South. So I understood the theory of black and white. I understood what my place was. I understood that if the fountain said white and some fountain said color, I knew my place was at color. If the counter said color is over there, I knew my place was to go over there to that side. So in terms of fear, I knew that if I did not abide by the rules, I was going to be in trouble, irregardless of how old I was. You had to abide by the rules. I remember, and I think I told you, my father was a hustler. He took an old mail truck and converted it into a grocery store on wheels. And we would go through, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, so there's an area called Granby. So in that area it was predominantly white, and he would go over to that area to sell his goods. And on weekends, my siblings and I would take turns riding on the truck. And one weekend, you get up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, Daddy would go to farmer's market, load up his truck, and then you go to do the wares. We went in this one particular area, and I was helping Daddy in the truck. So my job was to, when the women came out and they ordered, and he would bag it up, my job was to take the bags back to their house so they wouldn't have to lift the bag. So when I take the bag back to the lady's house, and I can't go in the house because I'm covered, right? So I'm at the back door, and I give her the bag, and she said, "Hey, I got something for you. You a cute little pickaninny." Yeah, I know what you're saying. Daddy, you know how parents give you that look? Don't open your mouth. Daddy gave me that look. Because I was about to tell her what my name was, and it was not pickaninny. It was not pickaninny. That was an experience. So in terms of fear, coming up north and seeing how Karen and Kenneth and George and everybody was marching, there was no fear. So we just fell right in line with them.
I really want to thank you all for coming here, and I'm hoping that as we're starting to wind down, that the freedom fighters will be willing to stay for a little bit if people have additional questions. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I first got to know these folks back in 2009 when I was a classroom teacher, and they would come in and speak to my students in an African American history course about their experiences, and it was just always a highlight of the year, and they were so generous with their time, and we worked together on this film, and it shouldn't be a surprise, but my book is actually dedicated to the Cecil B. Moore Philadelphia freedom fighters, because they have heart, but they also have my heart. So with that, I will hand things over to...
Would you all like for us to sing a song?
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spot. Please sing.
Cecil's Got a Shotgun?
There you go,
That's my favorite.
wow, okay.
I've watched the movie like 40 times.
For those of you, the freedom songs were very sacred because they kept the morale of the marchers up. I remember an experience, Kenny Gamble, Philadelphia International Rangers. He came into Girard College, this is like 65, and he said, "Why don't y'all cut an album, man, a freedom song album?" So now those songs keep the morale of the marchers up. But I want to say something real quick. When I was coming to this complex, I passed the Salvation Army, right? And I want to just show you how serious racism was in America. You know, at Girard College, the Salvation Army used to come out there and bring all the police sandwiches and drinks. And here we are fighting for freedom. They didn't offer us no water, but they're good now. Put that on the record. That's on the record, okay? Everybody can change. But the freedom songs, I told King Gamble, these songs keep me around the market, but the freedom songs kept us going, you know what I mean? And we used to sing one song when it looks like we're going to get arrested. We would make songs. Freedom song really called it this song. Do you want your freedom? Oh yeah. So when we thought we were going to jail or if somebody was going to get arrested, we would sing a song that says, we don't mind going to jail. Cause who?
Cecil Moore. Who was his name?
Yeah, we said, we don't mind going to jail because somebody's going to pay our bill. You know what I mean?
What was his name?
Georgia Woods.
Oh, that's the guy in the mirror.
Dwight?
No.
Roy?
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to sing a theme song too. But again, they kept them around to the market. Said, we ain't going to let nobody turn us around. Turn us around. Turn us around. We ain't going to let nobody turn us around. We going to keep on walking, or keep on talking, and hurry up the freedom, man. Yeah, we ain't going to let old Rizzo turn us around. Lord, turn us around. Yeah, turn us around. We ain't going to let old Rizzo turn us around. We going to keep on walking, or keep on talking, and hurry up the freedom, man. Thank you guys.
Oh, come
I
on.
said freedom got a shotgun. I said freedom gonna use it. I said freedom got a shotgun. I said freedom gonna use it. Gonna use it on the big end. Because Cecil got a shotgun. Here's one y'all can sing with us. Na 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 na. I said, do you want your freedom? Oh yeah, that good old freedom. Oh yeah. I said, do you want your freedom? Oh yeah, that good old freedom. Oh yeah. Y'all say I don't want that freedom. Thank you guys for having me.
One more time, just a round of applause. I don't know about you all, but like my heart is full and my soul is full. One of my proverbs that I live by is: "A society grows great when old men and women plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in." And I'll say this personal story because I am not here without men like Cecil B. Moore, right? Brother Kenny, you don't even know this. I was a little guy, but like I grew up watching you in the masjid. You know, my father's from 24th and Burke, so he with the Simon Gratz. So, John Chaney was his coach. Marcus Foster was his principal, right? And it was brothers like y'all that you don't know the impact, the influence because of the work you did is a reason why I've been able to be who I am in my career. And this is a reminder for you brothers and sisters that paved the way for us. Even if you think young people don't know, there are moments like this that create it. It's not a mystery why the young people ask questions in here today, because you're speaking something in them that they don't know that they have. So just personally, thank you, because again, a brother like me is not here without pioneers like that, because I grew up in a household where these stories were told every day, because my father said, you are going to know who these folks are. So again, thank you for blessing us today. It means a lot. And again, Brother Kenny, you wouldn't remember me, but I grew up watching you in the masjid.
Can I just add?
I just want to give a special sort of thank you, some flowers in the card to Amy. The Cohen Family Civic Dialogue Arena, I don't exaggerate, it's my favorite place in the building. So to the Cohen family, Michael, Chloe, Amy, you are a treasure. And again, if you all can see the dynamic conversation, we had an anti-violence conversation in here last week with the Deltas, and it was about 70 people in here. Young people were talking and having a conversation. So again, whether you have direct influence on people or not, the energy is alive. So again, we can't thank the Cohen family enough. The flower in the cars, we believe in giving people their flowers while they can smell them. So thank you, Amy, for keeping keeping history alive. Again, it means a lot to us here at PYB, so thank you. The Freedom Fighters will be around for a little bit of conversation, but as the registration said, the first 15 registrants get a free copy of Amy's book. And I do want to give folks who signed up first the book. I'm going to say like, hey, mix, mingle a little bit, and I'm going to call out some names while you mix and mingle, because I do want to give folks the copy of the book while they are here, okay? Again, thank you all. You really make the place special. Let's give a shout out